What if the very people you trust the most, your mom, your sibling, your lifelong best friend, weren't just hurting you, but were unknowingly being used to destroy you? Not out of malice, not by choice, but through something far more sinister, something invisible that uses familiar faces as its mask. It's not always the outside world you should fear. Sometimes, the greatest spiritual threat slips in silently through the ones who know your heart best. Sounds terrifying, right? But it's real. Demons don't barge through the front door. They whisper through memories. They ride on laughter shared over dinner. They hide behind the warm hug of someone who once wiped your tears. And without warning, your inner peace starts crumbling. Your confidence? Gone. Your sense of direction? Shattered. It feels like you're under attack, but there's no obvious enemy in sight, just people you've always loved acting off. In this video, we're going to uncover 5 undeniable signs that someone close to you has opened a door to demonic influence and that energy is aimed straight at you. This isn't paranoia. This isn't superstition. This is spiritual warfare, and the battlefield is deeply personal. So listen closely. Every second of this video could shift your awareness, protect your soul, and restore your power. If you're in a hurry, find speed it up, but don't skip a thing. One missed sign could keep you stuck in cycles of torment and confusion. Ready? Good. Let's begin the breakdown. 5 clear ways to recognize demonic energy working through friends or family. We'll start with the first sign, the targeting of your peace. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to show up at the worst possible moments? Like just when you finally started healing, maybe you committed to therapy, maybe your sleep's finally getting better, they suddenly appear, bringing chaos with them. You see how the chaos always seems to strike just as you're finding balance? That's no accident. It's a pattern. A strategic one. You've been doing the work, your anxiety is finally starting to calm down. Your energy is realigning. And then boom, someone you've known your whole life suddenly drops a crisis on you. A burden so heavy, it nearly crushes you. And here's the kicker, it's not even your problem, it's theirs. But somehow, you're the only one who can fix it, or so they say. And the timing? Way too perfect to be chance. It's like every time you start to breathe, someone shows up to suffocate your peace. It doesn't feel random anymore. It feels calculated. Now let me ask you this. What if these interruptions, these repeated emotional ambushes weren't just bad luck? What if they were intentional, not by the person, but by something working through them? That's the real danger. The enemy doesn't need to sneak in through the back when your front door is wide open. Call it what you will, demons, negative energy, spiritual interference. These forces are not stupid. They're observant, patient, tactical. They study your every move. They watch what soothes you, what fuels your growth, what makes you stronger. And then they wait for just the right moment to strike. And more importantly, they know who to use. The people you love. The ones who have access to your unguarded moments. They won't waste time using enemies. That would be obvious. That would be inefficient. No, the most effective attacks come disguised. They speak through trusted voices. They wear the masks of family, of old friends, of well-meaning loved ones. And these aren't just regular bad days or inconvenient distractions. These are precision strikes, perfectly timed to knock you off course just as you're leveling up spiritually, emotionally, or even financially. You start setting boundaries, and suddenly your oldest friend says you're distant, cold. You finally commit to daily prayer or meditation, and a cousin you haven't heard from in years shows up with chaos and guilt. You take real steps to heal your marriage, and out of nowhere, a parent starts unearthing ancient pain you thought was long buried. The goal? Always the same: disrupt your alignment, steal your clarity, shake your stillness. And here's the hard truth: people don't have to be evil to be used by evil. That's what makes this so disorienting, so painful. These people aren't wearing black robes or performing rituals under the moon. They're just spiritually asleep, emotionally reactive, or drowning in their own unresolved trauma. They have no idea how easily they're being manipulated, and that's what cuts the deepest, because in your heart, you know they care. But caring doesn't protect you from the damage. You know they love you. But here's a tough truth: love without awareness can still cause destruction. And when someone lets the same toxic energy speak through them over and over again, they're not just an innocent bystander anymore. Whether they realize it or not, they've become a participant in the chaos. This is where Stoic philosophy gives us powerful clarity. The Stoics remind us of something simple but profound. We can't control what others say or do, but we can absolutely control how we see it, how we respond, and what we allow to continue. You are the gatekeeper of your peace. You can't stop people from bringing drama, guilt, or bad energy into your space, but you can stop letting them inside. That's your power. And when someone you care about keeps disrupting your sense of purpose, your joy, your progress, Stoicism doesn't teach you to fight back in anger. It teaches you to set boundaries. Not walls built from pain or bitterness, but strong, wise, loving boundaries rooted in self-respect. So when that person always shows up with the wrong energy, at the wrong time, you don't need to label them possessed. You don't need to accuse them of anything. But you do need to see the pattern for what it is. Your spirit is being attacked, and the attack is coming through someone you already trust. And trust once weaponized can become one of your greatest vulnerabilities. That's the painful part. So many people don't want to face. We keep giving out chances because of shared history, because they're family, because we feel guilty. But spiritual maturity is knowing when it's time to step back. Not because you hate them, but because you love your peace more than their chaos. So here's the solution. Start paying attention. Start noticing the rhythm. Ask yourself, who always calls when things are finally going well for you? Who only reaches out when they need something? Who always seems to show up with emotional baggage right as you're finally finding balance? These are not coincidences. They are spiritual battles disguised as everyday moments. And the key is to stop reacting emotionally. Start responding with calm detachment. Let them speak, but don't absorb. Let them cry, but don't carry. You are not here to save everyone. You are here to guard the peace you fought so hard to build. And when you begin to set those boundaries, don't be surprised if you get pushback. That's normal. It's the withdrawal phase, when the spiritual leech feels you pulling away. They might accuse you, guilt trip you, say you've changed. Stay grounded. The Stoic doesn't flinch. They stand firm in what they know to be true. Inner peace isn't a gift from the outside world. It's a choice you make and protect from within. You're not being cruel. You're being clear. Earlier, we talked about emotional patterns, how people can unknowingly disrupt your peace just when you're starting to rise. But not all spiritual attacks are loud or obvious. Some are subtle. Some come wrapped in love. Sometimes, a battle begins with something as gentle sounding as, "I know you're busy, but I really need you right now. And in that moment, the test isn't about how much you care. It's about how fiercely you're willing to guard your energy, your clarity, your sanity. So pay attention to the patterns. Recognize the shift in your energy. That's how you begin to reclaim your peace. That's how you start spotting demons hidden in plain sight. Now let's move into the second sign, one that's more chilling and far more precise. Sign 2. Unnatural knowledge of your weaknesses. Have you ever had someone say something to you that was so painfully accurate it stunned you into silence? A sentence so razor sharp, so perfectly aimed, it felt like they had read your mind, as if they had access to your private thoughts, your unspoken fears. Not the stuff you joke about with friends, not the surface level insecurities we all carry, but the real ones, the raw ones. The thoughts you've never said out loud. The ones you barely admit to yourself, and somehow they knew. They reached in, pulled it out, and used it like a weapon. That kind of insight doesn't come from being observant. It doesn't come from emotional intelligence. It comes from somewhere else. When someone close to you seems to have an uncanny, almost supernatural understanding of your most vulnerable places, and they choose to use that knowledge to hurt you. You're no longer dealing with a normal human conflict. This is spiritual, and it's strategic. You might want to dismiss it. Maybe they've just known you for years. Maybe it's just timing. But there's a clear difference between someone who understands your behavior and someone who somehow knows what you've never shared with anyone. It feels like a violation, not just emotionally, but spiritually. You feel it deep, in your gut, in your bones. You walk away shaken, not just because it hurt, but because it didn't make sense. You catch yourself thinking, how could they possibly know that? Take a moment. Look back on your own life. Maybe it was a partner, someone you've trusted for years, who suddenly brought up something you've only ever written in a journal. Or maybe it was a family member who, in the middle of an argument, dropped a comment that pierced a place in you didn't even realize was still bleeding. It always happens when you're getting better, when you're meditating more, when you're forgiving, letting go, healing. The timing is never random. These attacks are calculated, and they hit you right as you're rising. That's what makes them so devastating. And that's how you know this isn't just emotional. This is spiritual warfare. This is the second undeniable sign that demonic influence may be operating through someone close to you. Unnatural knowledge of your deepest vulnerabilities, knowledge they should never have used with surgical precision to tear you down. Because here's something important to understand. Demons aren't chaotic. They're not wild. They're highly intelligent. They don't guess. They watch. They listen. They gather information. And once they find someone, a person open to bitterness, envy, or anger, they begin to whisper through them. That person becomes a vessel, maybe without even realizing it. But their words, they turn into weapons. Their timing becomes surgical. Their presence begins to poison the room. Now this is where Stoic philosophy becomes a powerful shield. As Marcus Aurelius put it, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. In other words, just because someone knows how to strike you where it hurts, doesn't mean they have to succeed. Just because their words are sharp, doesn't mean they have to cut. The real turning point is when you stop expecting them to behave differently and start observing them like a strategist, not emotionally, but intelligently. That's when the dynamic shifts. You stop being the confused target. You start becoming the guardian of your peace. So if someone in your life keeps saying things that hit too close to home, if their words feel too civic, too invasive, it's time to look deeper. Start paying attention to 3 key signs. First, look at what they're saying. Have you ever actually told them this information? If not, where is it coming from? Second, notice when these comments show up. Do they only seem to appear when you're making progress? When you're healing, growing, praying, or starting something new? Third, ask yourself, how do I feel afterward? Are you just annoyed, or do you feel spiritually exhausted, like something invisible just tore through your soul? That level of drain, that invisible heaviness, is not random. It's the fingerprint of spiritual warfare. These aren't just awkward conversations. They are disruptions, timed with precision, designed to derail your growth and throw you into emotional chaos. Let's be honest, this isn't just about people having a bad day. This is about individuals, sometimes without even knowing, opening themselves to darker forces. That doesn't mean they're evil. It doesn't mean they're possessed, but it does mean they've become vessels for something that doesn't want to see you rise. They're not just triggering you. They're participating, whether consciously or not, in a plan to wear down your spirit. It's a hard truth, but once you recognize it, you can't unsee it. So how do you protect yourself? It begins with clarity. You have to learn to separate your truth from what's being projected onto you. There's a difference between genuine concern and spiritual sabotage dressed up as care. And when someone uses insight, they shouldn't have to hurt you. Don't argue. Don't explain. Don't beg for their understanding. The Stoic response: step back, detach emotionally, fortify your inner world. This isn't about shutting people out. It's about shutting out anything that endangers your mind, your peace, your spirit, and your growth. Those are sacred. Not everyone should have access. And when someone shows you their willingness to cross that line, we just uncovered how some people, whether they realize it or not, become tools of sabotage, tearing at your peace with knowledge they shouldn't have. But sometimes the attack isn't sharp, it's soft. It wears the face of love. And that's where the third sign comes in. Sign 3. They actively interfere with your spiritual growth. This isn't about one-off comments or accidental misunderstandings. It's deeper, it's repeated, it's strangely consistent. This person, someone close to you, keeps showing up at the exact moments your soul is rising. And each time, they try to pull you back down. But here's what makes it so dangerous. They do it with a smile. They use soft voices, familiar words, and phrases that sound like care. They'll say, "I just miss the old you," or "You don't have to go so deep," or "Why are you making everything so intense lately?" But beneath those comforting tones is something else. Discomfort with your evolution. Because your growth confronts their stagnation. Your light makes their darkness harder to ignore. Let's be clear, this isn't about religion. This isn't a simple misunderstanding between different beliefs. This is spiritual warfare playing out in real time, through human vessels. When your spirit starts to shine brighter, it naturally makes the darkness in others squirm. People who've unconsciously aligned themselves with bitterness, pride, resentment, or even spiritual laziness suddenly become resistant. They don't need to wear masks or chant spells. They just need to stay stuck in their wounds long enough for something darker to speak through them. And I've seen it happen countless times. Someone begins reading sacred texts daily. They're meditating, choosing forgiveness, walking in peace. Then out of nowhere, an old friend stirs up forgotten drama. Or someone starts healing deep trauma and suddenly, a family member reappears, reopening a wound that was just starting to close. The pattern is always the same. The attack hits the moment your spirit starts to ascend. That's not love. That's disruption. And it's never random. It's strategic. Psychologically, your growth threatens people who haven't faced their own. Your clarity becomes a mirror reflecting their confusion. Your discipline calls out their avoidance. And for someone who's not ready to face their own inner chaos, tearing you down is easier than confronting themselves. But this isn't just human insecurity. There's something deeper moving through it. Something that transcends personalities. This is where demonic influence enters. These people don't just dislike your growth. They feel driven to interfere with it. And they usually don't even know why. All they know is that your calm unsettles them. Your faith makes them restless. Your momentum makes their stillness unbearable. So how do you protect your spirit when the resistance is coming from those closest to your heart? This is where Stoic philosophy offers a map. The Stoics taught one of the most important lessons of all: separate what you can control from what you can't. And what you can control completely is access. You don't owe everyone front row seats to your transformation. You don't have to explain why you're meditating more, or why you're no longer entertaining the same chaos. You don't need approval. You don't need validation. As Epictetus said, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Your growth is not a group project. It's personal. It's sacred. And when it begins to bear fruit, not everyone should be invited to the harvest. So what's the solution? It's simple but not easy. Guard your practice fiercely. Set clear boundaries around the space and time you need to grow. Notice who disrupts your peace and choose not to engage. You can't stop someone from calling, but you can stop answering. You can stop explaining. And most importantly, stop doubting your gut. Because your intuition, that's your divine alarm system. When someone constantly mocks your growth, drains your energy, or shakes your focus, believe it. That is your signal. That is your warning. Spiritual growth threatens everything that feeds on chaos. So if you're feeling resistance, it means you're doing something right. Previously, we talked about how spiritual growth threatens everything that feeds on chaos, and how the resistance you feel is proof that you're on the right path. Now we move to the next unmistakable sign. One that strikes not just at your thoughts, but your body and spirit. Sign 4. They drain your energy physically, emotionally, and spiritually, especially when you're stepping into positive change. It's far more common than most people are willing to admit. I remember speaking with a man named Eric, a father of 3, who had completely turned his life around. After years of battling addiction, toxic patterns, and broken relationships, he committed fully to sobriety, healthy living, and reconnecting with his spiritual path. Everything was finally aligning. But then something strange began to happen. Every time he spent time with his cousin Mike, someone he had grown up with and loved like a brother, Eric would return home feeling wrecked. Not just emotionally. Physically, he described it like being punched in the gut. Tightness in his chest, pounding headaches, a heavy fog of hopelessness that would settle over him, despite feeling strong just hours earlier. But here's the eerie part: Mike never insulted him. He never mocked Eric's journey or told him to give up. It was more subtle, passive remarks, backhanded compliments, small seeds of doubt planted quietly and strategically. More than once, Eric came home after spending time with Mike and spiraled into deep discouragement. He questioned whether he could really stay clean, whether he was even changing at all. That is energy vampirism in action. When demonic forces find a willing host, they don't just use that person to discourage you. They use them to drain you, to strip you of the very energy you need to fight, to grow, to stay grounded. And make no mistake, this kind of spiritual attack doesn't happen at random. It escalates when you're making progress. Just as your spirit rises, they show up to pull you back down. From a psychological perspective, people like Mike often aren't fully aware of what they're doing. They're uncomfortable watching someone else break free while they remain stuck. Your growth shines a spotlight on their stagnation. Your forward movement forces them to confront their own paralysis. And rather than deal with their pain, they project it. But spiritually, this runs even deeper. Demonic forces feed on despair. They thrive in confusion, in emotional depletion, in the erosion of hope. So they sharpen the people closest to you, turning them into instruments of depletion. Recognizing this requires brutal honesty. Start by paying attention. Who leaves you feeling worse after every encounter, even if their words seem harmless? Watch your body. Are there people whose presence triggers headaches, brain fog, nausea, sudden fatigue? Energy never lies. The body feels what the mind tries to explain away. So what can you do? Again, the Stoics offer clear wisdom. Epictetus reminds us, while we may not control others, we are fully responsible for what we allow into our inner world. You may not be able to cut ties immediately, not with family, childhood friends, co-workers, but you can control the boundaries you set. You can protect your peace. Before you interact with someone who consistently saps your strength, prepare yourself. Visualize a barrier, whatever image works for you. A wall of light, a circle of fire, a river between souls. See it clearly and let it guard your energy through the storm. Keep interactions short and purposeful. Don't get dragged into loops, endless debates, guilt traps, or conversations designed to confuse and exhaust. And afterward, cleanse. Go outside, breathe deeply, sit in silence, pray, do whatever restores your spirit, because restoration is your responsibility. And above all, remember this: your peace, your energy, your joy. These are sacred. Protecting them is not selfish. It is wisdom. People who truly love you will never demand that you bankrupt yourself emotionally just to keep them comfortable. They will celebrate your growth, not sabotage it. Eric eventually realized he had to love Mike from a distance. Not with hate, but with clear, strong boundaries. He didn't know anyone access to the strength he was still rebuilding. And neither do you. Your energy is a gift, meant to fuel your purpose, not to be recklessly drained by those unwilling to rise with you. In the last section, we talked about protecting your light, especially when someone close to you begins to drain your energy. But what if it's not just one person? What if it feels like the attacks are coming from all sides? Sign 5. Multiple people begin attacking your peace, purpose, and growth at the same time. This is the final and most unmistakable sign that someone, or rather, several people in your life, have opened themselves up to dark spiritual influence. And when you start seeing similar patterns of resistance, criticism, or sabotage coming from different directions all at once, this is no coincidence. It's a coordinated assault. Demonic forces don't work in isolation. They're organized, tactical, strategic. Once they find open doors in your circle through emotionally unstable friends, spiritually unaware family, or envious co-workers, they exploit those openings simultaneously. They create a web of disruption, all designed to confuse you, entangle you, and crush your momentum. I once worked with a woman named Maria who made the brave decision to leave a toxic corporate job and launch her own holistic wellness business. She was aligned. She was certain. She knew this was her path, but the moment she shared her decision, the resistance began. Her sister, someone she barely spoke to before, suddenly showed up with stories about failed entrepreneurs and the dangers of chasing unrealistic dreams. An old college roommate started making subtle jabs, mocking her hippie phase. Even her pastor, who had always supported her, raised an eyebrow and questioned her judgment. None of these people knew each other. Yet the core message they delivered was eerily the same. Doubt yourself. Stay small. Turn back. It wasn't about the specific words they said. It was the synchronized effort to derail her spirit just when she needed strength the most. Psychologically, this is common. When someone begins making real changes, when they start healing, growing, or stepping into purpose, it triggers those who remain trapped by their own fears. But spiritually, something even more calculated is taking place. These forces communicate. They sense when a soul is close to breakthrough. And then, like clockwork, they rally every available channel, every wounded person, every unstable relationship, every dormant insecurity, to apply pressure from all angles. And if you're not paying attention, you'll fall into the trap. Start fighting one person, explaining yourself to another, defending your decisions to a third, and miss the real battle that's happening beneath the surface. This is where Stoic wisdom becomes your anchor. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." And that's exactly what these attacks are designed to do. Create a storm in your mind. They want to make you feel surrounded, overwhelmed, defeated before the real fight has even begun. But the truth is simpler. You are facing a spiritual campaign. And like every campaign, its goal is to break your will before you even reach the battlefield. That's why your most powerful weapon isn't external. It's your inner citadel, that unshakable peace built deep within, untouched by outer noise. When you begin to see that this wave of resistance is not personal, but planned, you reclaim your power. You stop taking every comment to heart. You stop running around trying to fix everything. You stop questioning yourself because multiple voices echo the same fear. Instead, you start seeing the pattern. Once you begin recognizing the pattern, the fingerprints of something larger moving beneath the surface, you gain clarity. And with that clarity comes power. The key isn't to react emotionally. It's not about lashing out or trying to fix everyone around you. Instead, it's about anchoring yourself even deeper into your spiritual practices. Prayer, stillness, solitude, reflection. Whatever keeps your soul clean and your mind steady, that is your weapon. You don't need to match their chaos with chaos. You don't need to fight the circus. You simply need to withdraw your energy from it. Fortify your mind with truth. Strengthen your spirit with clarity. And most of all, limit your access. Limit how much space you give to anyone who constantly brings confusion, fear, or instability into your life. You may not be able to stop the noise, but you have full control over which voices shape your spirit. And here's something you must never forget. When the attacks come fast, coordinated, and relentless, it's often because you're on the brink of a breakthrough. The storm isn't proof that you're failing. It's confirmation that you're becoming. The intensity of the resistance is evidence of the importance of your path. So don't let it break you. Don't let it turn you around. Hold the line. Stay silent when you're baited to argue. Stay calm when you're tempted to explode. Stand still where your peace is being tested. Guard your inner world with the vigilance of a soldier behind enemy lines. Because here's the truth. No matter how many people are being used against you, the coordinating force behind them has no power unless you give it power. It feeds on your fear. It grows through your doubt. It only survives when you forget who you are. But the moment you stop reacting, the moment you withdraw your energy from its games, you reclaim your strength. Your path is sacred. Your growth is sacred. And no attack, no matter how strategic or loud, can take that from you unless you let it. Remain grounded. Remain free. You're not imagining things. You're not overreacting. What you've felt, what you've seen, is real. And now your eyes are open. Demons don't show up in red faces or horns. They arrive through familiar voices, trusted hands, shared history. But now that you know the signs, you can take your power back. You can protect your peace. You can reclaim your purpose. You can secure your future. So if this message stirred something in you, if a light clicked on deep inside that whispered, "This is what's been happening," don't dismiss it. Act on it. Strengthen your spirit. Guard your heart. Step boldly into the authority you were created to walk in. Because you are not helpless. You are not alone. You are being called to rise. Stay sharp. Stay awake. And above all, remember this: your soul is worth fighting for.